Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. And this time, last week for my Veterans Day special, I did a whole bunch of war comics, and primarily done by veteran creators themselves. And like Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Joe Kubert, Dick Ayers. I don't know if Robert Kanigher was a veteran or not. Probably. I don't know who all else. And anyway, one of those books was this one. Was Sergeant Rock number 19 from 1991, and I had been wanting to do a deep dive into this one for quite some time. So this is a good. Now that I've got it dug out, this is a good time to do it. And of course, here on the cover it says "Trick or Treat." This is cover dated December 91, so it would have come out in October, just in time for Halloween. And it is a bit more of a trick or treat Halloween type story. This is has two stories in it, and this is a second iteration of Sergeant Rock. And I think all of the issues from this run, most of, if not all, were reprint stories. And I wish I had bought them faithfully at the time, but as always, comics are expensive, and I was mostly getting other stuff. So this first story was by Robert Kanigher with art by Russ Heath. Great artist. He did wonderfully on Sergeant Rock for many years. And then the second and main story is a Batman and Sergeant Rock story, as you can see here on the cover. Right here behind Rock is the Batman. And this was written by Bob Haney with art by Jim Aparo, and it is a reprint of Brave and the Bold number 108 from 1973, and it has a Joe Kubert cover. So we'll take a look here. Okay, Sergeant Rock. Yes, Rock is. Sergeant Rock had the best World War stories. Of course, during the war, there's Rock, Sergeant of Easy Company, and they're commandos out on patrol somewhere. This was after the Normandy invasion. Of course, they're somewhere in France, and they're in a remnants of a bombed out town. It had been quite some time since it had been bombed out, and suddenly they take fire and they rush for cover, and then the fog rolls in. They find themselves hunkering down in a graveyard, and with all this fog obscuring everything, which makes it good for them because they're harder to see, but then they also can't have greater difficulty seeing the enemy. But they seems to have taken out most of the enemy, and then they see this figure walking towards them, and it's an old man, long hair, long beard, raggedy clothes. And he walks up, and all this time they're cracking jokes. The Easy Company's cracking jokes and says, "We'll be fine, Rock, as long as we got Billy Boy." Billy Boy is a new recruit that they picked up, and since he came, they haven't had any casualties. So I think he's their good luck charm, their rabbit's foot. Well, the old man walks right up to Billy Boy and hugs him and says, "Oh, my son, you have risen, reborn." And everyone's surprised. Then he goes into telling the story how years before in that town. He had been a respectable person, and there was the cliff and mountain out just outside of town that was called Satan's Height, and the old gypsy woman says that they are cursed. There's a devil on the mountain, and shortly after this, people start turning up being murdered, including his own son and daughter-in-law, the old man's son and daughter-in-law, and eventually they catch him, and he's a madman, and they put a mask of iron on his face, and then when he dies, they put him in a grave, and have a special headstone that they have put over there as a warning for his evil. Then, of course, the war starts. His story comes to an end when incoming, mortar fire, right in the heart of the graveyard. So they scatter, and in the process, Billy Boy and the old man bought it. They still have fog cover, and they scatter because they don't want to bunch up. Rock gets separated, and he is attacked by this giant of a man with an iron helmet on. He makes to rip the helmet off, and it's just a skull face there. Then it collapses. When Rock comes to and his men find him, he's all by himself, but he has been laying on the grave of the evil man. They bury the fog lifts. Their two casualties get buried, and they're on their way. Okay, now the main story is the night Batman sold his soul, and it starts off someplace upstate New York. Just south of the border is a guy who kidnapped a kid, holding for ransom, got the wrong kid, and still holding for ransom. Batman has tracked him down, and he's holed up in this cabin in the woods. And Batman needs to get in there, and he busts in, but he's the guy expected him. Gives him a shotgun blast, which is just a glancing blow, and this is at the time when Batman wore little or no body armor in the comics. But you can see a great Jim Aparo art, and of course, in 1973, this is still just a few years after the 60s campiness of the Batman TV show, and he's come a long way. This is the Batman that I like, except for this part. He drags the unconscious Batman out and dumps him in a well. Batman's there in a well. He's so frustrated he can't get out. He's injured. And he said, "I'd give my soul to get out of here. I don't want to die. Batman wants to live," because he wants to get that guy. Right at death's door, someone lowers the bucket, brings him, and hauls him up. And it's an old man in a trench coat. You can't see his face. And says, "Thanks, I got you." And says, "Stopped for water. But fortunately, I heard your cry for help." So he heard him say he'd sell his soul. And the guy takes off. Batman goes back to the cabin, captures the guy, saves the kid, and he's hauled off. And then while he's being hauled into jail in Gotham, there is Bruce Wayne right there. Says, "Taking credit for what Batman did, Commissioner?" Bruce says to the Commissioner, and he walks off with a ta-ta. But then as soon as he's out of sight, he nearly collapses because from pain and weakness from his injury. Then there's a figure. It's the same old man. He recognizes his unusual accent. And did you think I helped you for nothing? You called for me from the depths of your soul, and now that soul belongs to me. He goes, no, and he tells him how he will do evil. And so the man walks off, and Wayne gets up and tries to take after him. Thinks I got you. Grabs him, and it's not him. And someone with a gun, and he throws his aim off. So blast it. And it's an old Sergeant Rock. Remember, this is at this time, it's less than 30 years after the war. So Rock would still be around. And he says, "You spoiled my..." He winds up helping Wayne, takes him to the in the process he winds up having to reveal that he is Batman in the course of the story, because they were both after that same old man. And so Rock tells the story of at the end of the war, how he, right at the end when Germany was falling and he was alone and taken prisoner, and he sees Hitler, and he sees Hitler get in a plane and take off just before the place is shelled and Rock gets away, before they can kill him. And he says he's come across the same man who he believes to be Hitler, because Wayne says there were a lot of body doubles. It may have just been one of those, and he may have been playing the role to the hilt. But we have confirmation that Hitler is dead. Well, yeah, obviously he's dead now, but there was for years, and still is, some question, because the Russians just might not have been, when they got hit, where the remains may not have been that accurate. Anyway, he's Rock is in Greece and overhears something, spots the same way, and in Paris and other places he keeps getting foiled. They get away. So now they're going to work together. Says followed him down. Always think he's using the identity of this guy Ritter. It's Dr. Ritter, and they find him down there in Germany. And not yet. They're going to be. The old man stops him again and takes him for a ride as Bruce Wayne. So he realizes the two are the same. Says, only to remind you of our bargain. I need human tools. The Empire of Evil has many soldiers, and you have enlisted under its banner. And you will do evil. Before this night is out, you will do evil, and later you'll do even more evil. And Batman says, no way. And so later, when he's doing his Bat Patrol, he spots a known crook, and he just wants to go check him out. And the guy takes off and runs right in the path of a truck and is struck and killed. And then Batman is yelled at for his widow. And then he gets a call. See, look here on a note taped to a window on a store, says, "Are you doing the devil's work?" And he gets a call as Batman, and he says, "I told you you would do something. Even now you'll do even more." And oh no, are you crazy? And he's starting to doubt himself. And when there's a ruckus at the airport, Batman is called, and it's Rock, and he gets Rock, and says, "Come with me." He takes Rock and says, "We're going to find this guy. I'm beginning to think you might be right." And they go to Europe and meet up with some of the old, still surviving members of Easy Company, plus some of the new guys in the new Easy Company. And they look doing some tracking. They find an old track him to this old werewolf nest. Werewolves were a special unit in the army to create terror behind the Allied lines and stuff. Anyway, and find out something that it was recently occupied, and see something about on a train schedule. They go to meet the train. Batman gets on the train while Rock and Easy are going parallel in a Jeep, and says, I'll confront him myself, but if I'm not back in a few minutes, you got to stop this train, even if you have to derail it. And Batman is snagged by the authorities on the train. Says this is take him to Dr. Ritter, and it obviously is not Hitler. It doesn't look. It says, "You think Hitler? Are you crazy? I was in the concentration camps." And he sees, he's obviously it's not Hitler. Oh my gosh! Well, I've got to stop them. They're going to derail the train, but the Jeep gets rolled. And some of Easy managed to get on right the Jeep, and they keep going. Some of them managed to get on the train, and then Batman says, "Oh, He gets loose, and now he's confronted by the faceless man again. Yes, the former Batman is driven out of you, vanquished, and a new Caped Crusader takes his place, strong with the strength of evil. And boys, the lights go out. Batman gets away, gets out on the top, and he winds up helping the Easy Company because they're fighting guards on top of the train. And I noticed here now they're they're carrying M16s. The train goes off on a side spur right into a cavern in the mountain, and my gosh, it's a Nazi hole there, bolt hole. It's full of arms, weapons, and soldiers, and so they have the battle. They go after the. So we gotta get him. We gotta stop him. And he runs away. Someone tosses a grenade. There's a cave in. Batman gets away, but Rock and Company managed to get out by utilizing one of the tanks in that hole. And says he's gone. He got away. He got away. He says, and nobody can foretell when or where it'll strike again. And that's for evil. And then we see the old man walking down the road, limping because he knew he had a characteristic limp. And for the first time, it's not a close-up, and so you can't really see it here, but it is his face is an old version of Adolf Hitler. So, an old man limps down a deserted road, and as the cold moon breaks through scudding dark clouds, and the end. And that was good. Because leaving doubt, was it Hitler? Was it not? He looks like Hitler. Could have been one of his body doubles. You never can tell. So, I want to thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe. Do leave your comments down below. What do you think of this Sergeant Rock in general? Woohoo! And this story of Rock and the Batman. There have been other Brave and the Bold, at least one other story of Batman and Sergeant Rock, but that took place during the war on Earth 2, I think it was. So, and if I ever find that one, I want to do that one too. I've got it someplace. So, thank you. Leave your comments down below. And remember, comics are art.